Week 16 concludes with Monday Night Football. The Packers in Minnesota visiting the Vikings. Packers can clinch the NFC North title with a win tonight, but that's not all. Green Bay also has a chance of clinching the top seed in the NFC and home field advantage with wins tonight and in Week 17 in Detroit, combined with a Niners loss in Seattle on Sunday night. Vikings will be without running back Dalvin Cook, who's sidelined with shoulder and chest injuries. Backup running back Alexander Madison, meanwhile, currently questionable with a right ankle sprain. Could be the Mike Boone show tonight. With Cook out, the Vikings will need a strong performance out of Kirk Cousins. He's 0-8 on Monday Night Football, the worst record by any quarterback, according to Elias. Now, Cousins opposed by Aaron Rodgers, who's had his share of struggles this season, despite his 24 touchdown passes. Rodgers has 8 games with a sub-50 total QBR, 3 more than in any other season in his career. Green Bay Packers and Minnesota Vikings is our Monday night matchup. Lisa Salters joining us now from Minnesota. Lisa, the Packers are ranked 22nd in total offense, but still finding ways to win. How concerned are they with that offense, though?
Well, Jay, Aaron Rodgers told us yesterday he thinks the Packers offense can be really dangerous with just a slight uptick in its efficiency. He said, compared to the last Green Bay playoff team from 2016, he thinks this current squad is more complete, despite some ugly wins and some ugly losses. Rodgers said, we've got the defensive juice now and the social tightness, the camaraderie. Rodgers also said, hey, any winning is good, is fun, but to get back to winning and dominating, which is what they're used to in Green Bay, he said it's just going to take a few players to raise their level of play a little bit. And that starts with him, Rodgers said, but he needs some other guys to do it as well, Jay.
They always seem to come together when it is time to come together. On the other side, Kirk Cousins, 0-8 on Monday night. Tonight would be the perfect time to notch his first win. What's his outlook heading into tonight's game?
Yeah, let's face it, Jay. Monday nights have not been kind to Kirk Cousins, but he's such a gracious person that he has not shied away from the narrative about him in big games or his winless record on Monday Night Football. And despite that fact that he's 0-8 on Mondays, including the loss in Seattle 3 weeks ago, he has not played badly. He's averaging 270 passing yards a game on Monday nights and has 11 touchdowns against 5 interceptions. But his defenses have kind of let Cousins down on Monday nights, allowing an average of 29 points per game in those 8 losses. But when we asked Cousins about his winless Mondays, Jay, he took the high road like he always does. He just said, hey, we got to win. Tonight I get another crack at it, and hopefully we can get it done.
Well, Kirk Cousins is looking for his first Monday night win. Aaron Rodgers is going for his 6th straight win on Monday night. Lisa Salters, thank you much.
All right, so that's the big story in the NFC tonight. The big story in the AFC is for the first time, the conference is going to run through Baltimore. The Ravens got revenge on the last team that beat them. That was the Browns. They're at the double-digit win streak here. You got to go back a long way as Lamar threw for 3 touchdowns, ran for 103, leads the NFL with 36 touchdown passes. Broke the single-season Ravens passing record set by Vinny Testaverde, believe it or not. The same success could not be said for Baker Mayfield and the Browns, out of the playoffs now for the 17th straight season, and the fans are not happy, to say the least. We'll have Freddie Kitchens talking about the fans here in just a moment. Should mention OBJ did have an acrobatic touchdown yesterday. Sure, another frustrating Sunday for he and the Browns. Here's Kitchens on yesterday, and then a note for the fans.
Yesterday was disappointing. Very good Ravens teams done a fantastic job over the last 11 weeks. Took advantage of our mistakes that we made, what good teams usually do, especially at the end of the half, the first half. They took advantage of that, and we were never really able to recover. We know it's been a disappointing season up to this point for our fans. Hopefully we learn from our mistakes moving forward and become a better team because of it in all areas.
Biggest question in Cleveland and around the league is how much of a hot seat is he on? Is it scalding? Is it super scalding? Our NFL insider Dan Graziano is here, and bottom line, Freddie Kitchens is not alone. 6-9 through his first full year on the job. Does he get year 2?
It's a tricky situation there because no team wants to move on after just 1 year. And there are people in the Browns front office who would like to continue with Freddie Kitchens. They believed in him a year ago. They'd like to give him another shot. What they don't know is what ownership will do. And obviously the performance this year, very, very disappointing. Ownership playing it close to the vest at this point. We'll obviously find out next week, but it's obviously a situation we're watching for a potential opening. It would not be a huge surprise.
Giants ownership has always kept it close to the vest over the years. How about Pat Shurmur's 9-22 mark?
Yeah, that's a tough one to overcome. And he hasn't had a ton to work with, especially with the time, that Saquon Barkley missed this year, et cetera. And the defense has just been terribly underpopulated with sufficiently good players. But I think it's possible that the Giants, who have missed the playoffs now 7 of the last 8 years, move on and make major changes to their leadership structure next week.
Speaking of leadership structure, Tom Coughlin is gone. Will Doug Marrone follow in Jacksonville?
That's another tricky one because I think it had been assumed for a while there would be sweeping changes there. But with Coughlin out, now you start to hear that maybe ownership might want to keep Marrone in place. Some of these decisions get made on the weekend depending on how the season finishes out. So another situation we're watching, much like what I said in Cleveland, where it wouldn't be a surprise, but you do start to hear some rumblings in the other direction.
Shad Khan expedited the dismissal of Tom Coughlin. We'll see what happens with Marrone. Those teams don't have much going for them. There are some playoff teams, though, that have a lot to look forward to next month that have some injury concerns. Let's start with Eagles tight end Zach Ertz. What are you hearing?
Eagles not a playoff team just yet. They may have to win their game this weekend in order to become one. But Zach Ertz played with a rib injury that we understand to be a fracture. They're doing further tests on him this week, early part of this week, to see how serious it is and whether he'll be able to play next weekend. Obviously, not just the pain management, but also can he suffer a more serious injury as a result of that rib problem. And then Mark Ingram, the Ravens running back, suffered a calf strain, as you see there in Sunday's game. The Ravens are optimistic that it could be a couple of weeks and he could be back on the field. And they have a couple of weeks because they're not going to play their starters on Sunday, as they've already announced. And they have a bye week. So the hope is that he'll be able to play in that divisional round.
I hate using a cliche, but it seems appropriate here. The best ability is always availability. And we'll wait to see when those two guys can get back on the field. The England thing looked really bad at first. Dan, thank you very much. Here's what's on tap here for the Ravens. They're not going to play Lamar, Mark Ingram, obviously the injury Dan just mentioned, Earl Thomas, Marshall Yanda on the offensive line, or Williams on the defensive line because they've already got everything wrapped up. They're playing the Pittsburgh Steelers, who will start Duck Hodges. That's important right now if you're the Tennessee Titans and are keeping
Former Packers head coach Mike McCarthy for their head coaching job after the game against the Colts yesterday. Panthers declining comment on the coaching search. Carolina fired Ron Rivera a few weeks ago. Again, Adam Schefter tweeting that the Panthers interviewed former Packers head coach Mike McCarthy for their head coaching job after their game against the Colts yesterday.
New owner David Tepper for the Panthers. Another developing story. Pete Carroll says his injury-ravaged backfield might be getting a boost from beast mode. Carroll saying a really good chance they bring back Marshawn Lynch. Seattle's top 3 running backs are all out for the season. We should mention the Seahawks win Sunday against the Niners would give them the division. And he says Marshawn might be more game ready than you think.
He's been working really hard. He's really excited about the chance to do something helping out, and I think it's freaking great. You know, if he can get out there and tote the ball for us, the circumstances rolled just at this time, and he could have 4 or 5 games left in him. Maybe that's what we need. There's a lot of history here that's great history, and there was nobody that ever amplified the kind of mentality and toughness that we like to play with. And so if we get a chance to get the beast back on the field, we'll see how that works out.
Again, Carroll's words are that it's really close. Marshawn has dominated the 49ers in his career. I'm not sure he ran around Bosa, Buckner, and Sherman, though, in his previous days. He, of course, spent time in Oakland and Buffalo, but he's most well known for parts of 6 years in Seattle. And here's his ultimate highlight, perhaps, before his return.
Marshawn Lynch!
You know why I'm here. They know why I'm here.
What a run by Marshawn Lynch!
I'm here so I won't get fined.
He's the best running back in the game.
He just like moving, pushes him at 35, looking to go. He is going to go. Touchdown, Seahawks. He's on the move, beast mode. How in the world did he do that?
He just wears defenses down.
Holy smoke. Beast mode, you are spectacular. Are you kidding me?
Marshawn's one of the best teammates you can ever have.
When he touched the ball, anything can happen.
You want to know where the Beast Mode's power came from? Grab a handful of Skittles.
Cue the Skittles.
You're seeing a demonstration of a guy being himself.
He's probably one of the best, most misunderstood people that will ever play the stage.
We'll see if that happens. It is good to have Ryan Clark here for his weekly installment of 4 Downs. First down, my friend, how do you like the idea of Marshawn Lynch coming back to the Seahawks right now?
I don't like it. I love it. This is what they need. You look at this team, they were bludgeoned against the Arizona Cardinals. They were a team that couldn't run the ball, that couldn't change the line of scrimmage. You've lost 3 starting running backs. Well, guess what? Go back to the best one you've had in the last decade or so, and that's Marshawn Lynch. You want to be a team that exemplifies physicality, that sets a tone in the running game, you go get Marshawn Lynch, and if it's even just 5 carries a game, he brings the energy that they need.
All right, let's go to second down. In the win over the Titans, Michael Thomas had 12 catches, giving him a $145 for the season, breaking Marvin Harrison's single-season record of 143 that he set back in 2002. How would you describe Thomas this season?
It's hard work. You look at what this guy does. He makes tough catches. He runs great routes, and he's reliable. You know you can throw him the ball because the other team never ends up with it. This isn't a guy with the Julio Jones type measurables, the Odell Beckham Jr. type explosion, but he has more production than them all. He reminds me of how Antonio Brown would outwork the opponent even though they knew he was getting the ball. Michael Thomas has been spectacular.
Third down, the Eagles will have to beat the Giants next week to win the NFC East. Meanwhile, Dallas gets Washington. How do you like Philly's chances of closing things out?
I like him, but I don't love him, Jay. Like, think back to a couple of Monday nights ago when Eli Manning walks into Philly and goes ham in the first half, throwing deep balls to Darius Slayton for 2 touchdowns. And the comeback that had to be mounted by Carson Wentz, and I call them the replacements. So they're going to have to go into MetLife against Daniel Jones, against this Giants team that's coming off of a win, and find a way to win there. Can they do it? Absolutely, but it'll be tough.
Speaking of Eli and Daniel Jones, fourth down. Daniel threw 5 touchdowns in the Giants' win over Washington after the team got back to Jersey last night. Jones and Eli Manning were spotted hanging out at a bar having some fun. Giants head coach Pat Shurmur was asked about that today.
Team out last night having a good time after the game. Videos of them at a bar, drinking, whatnot. You okay with everything that went on last night?
Yeah. I mean, they're grown men, and they look after each other, and they were celebrating a victory, you know. Should have invited me.
Ryan, your thoughts on
Absolutely.
Eli and Daniel hanging out?
It's a stupid question to ask the head coach. Eli's 4,900 years old. If the man wants to go out and have a drink and take out some of his younger players and spend that type of time after a win, let him do it, especially for a guy who's a leader on that team, a 2-time Super Bowl champion, MVP. If he wants to hang with the young rookie that you drafted to replace him, let them do that. That is team building. That is chemistry. The year before I got to Pittsburgh and they won the Super Bowl, I would hear about all these trips they would take. They would literally leave a city, take a trip, have a victory Monday, be back Tuesday night, and go to practice. One of the closest teams I've ever been around. Sometimes that chemistry helps to build something way beyond the field. So good for you, Eli. Good for you, Daniel Jones. Enjoy that. And for the dude who asked the question, don't be asking Pat Shurmur that. Tell him when the next party going to be so my boy can flip a cup too. Looks like he needs it.
Eli, 4,900. I don't know if that's going to happen anytime soon.
Well, I'm just saying.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Ryan.
Gentlemen from 4 Down.